It seems like what I hear from an older generation is we kind of had those questions when we were your age, but we've moved on, or those have been defined somehow that makes sense to us, and so we've set that question aside.
What are the issues that are stopping you from attending church or to joining a church?
I had the opportunity to travel, as I know some people of this group have, to the Middle East with EMU's cross-cultural program.
But I think there's also something about a postmodern context that pushes young adults to more fully engage other individual stories.
I spent some time with the Christian Peacemaker Teams unit in Hebron. During that time, I saw a shooting between a settler and an Arab village just a half mile down the road. I saw the remains of like a bomb that got blown up.
Is God the only God for all people? Is Jesus the only way to this salvation?
There are faith communities there who are all claiming truths about God.
Is this salvation a salvation from an eternal hell of fire?
And when I began to look around with my church experiences, I found it very difficult to ask the question, what should we do when one side and another side claim different truths about God?
Those are some of the concepts that it's tough for me, and I think a lot of my peers to kind of ascribe to, because ascribing to those traditional capital T truths excludes people and excludes stories that have been proven to us to be real.
And I found that I was running more and more often into answers that didn't acknowledge the challenge of the question, or were a glib response, or a response that was just trying to get me in the door, as opposed to sort of recognize what was behind it.
And these questions are are sometimes hard, and you're seeing me struggling now to ask in a traditional kind of church space, because church has, in our minds, I think has something figured out. So one of the things we've been talking about on this trip, is living out our questions. And that, I think, just means dealing in everyday activity with the questions. And not that the questions need to be answered and boxed and stored away, but those are the questions that we can have capital T answers for in a theological, philosophical place that's away from everyday life, but how do we engage that practically? And so that's some of the, I don't know, I think it's somehow unique to the culture and the world that we're living in today as young adults.